and comfort. Okay?
It's mixed signal whiplash.
Yeah.
And it's a little much.
Kaylin fell back asleep, and then she woke up in the morning and insisted that Richard has to go pass out for a while. There's lots of sleeping and then awaking at this point in the chapter. They both rested for a while in the swamp, basically, is what this all amounts to. The Hearthounds are gone about 20 or 30 minutes before dawn. She gave him some hot tea that she warmed over the candle, and she has the war axe, like, leaning against her knee, because she's a fucking badass, and she's been sitting there, like, hanging out with it.
Finally, Kaylin has a real weapon.
Exactly.
Right.
We went over this earlier. She had a short knife.
Right.
Now she's a fucking battle axe.
For sure.
Yes.
This is what she should have had the whole...
Fully armed to the teeth. Let's go.
Exactly. This is the Kaylin that you think about. Like, she's a badass. She should have a war axe next to her. She should not be riding through the swamp with snakes on a horse with a fucking knife. It's dumb.
It's bullshit. Get a little tiny knife. Richard has a giant sword. No, she needs an axe. It's more her speed anyway.
For sure.
I've got kind of an affinity for hatchets and axes and things of the like. So I enjoyed this very, very much.
So Richard asks Kaylin, any change in Zed or Chase? And the reply is no. So they lash them up to the litters, and they start heading for South Haven.
So they got to the inn, and Richard told Kaylin to stay close to him. The men there were dangerous, and she gives him this weird little smile, and she's like, I'm used to that kind. Richard's not really sure what she means, but he's not going to ask her. They walk in, and everybody in there went quiet. It's a room full of, like, real rough guys.
Like an old Western when the guy walks in and everybody shuts up and stares at him for
the poker tournament stops.
Right.
The beer stops flowing.
5 full seconds.
Everybody turns, looks.
Yeah. And they're all that type of guy, like in an old Western. They all have, like, real deep voices and big beards. They're trappers and travelers and trouble.
They're super filthy.
Yeah, they smell
really
like
dirty.
Smoke and ale and sweat.
Sounds like my kind of place.
And Kaylin, she stands there proud and unafraid, and she takes her hood off, and she's just super annoying beacon of, like, come fuck with us.
That is the perfect way to say it, though.
I love the way they put it in the book. She stands out like a gold ring on a beggar.
Yeah.
Like, you don't belong here. I don't care what you say.
Absolutely fucking
I don't care
not.
who you are. It's wrong.
It says all the men smiled at them, and not in
a good way.
Good way. Yeah, in the worst kind of way. Richard just wishes Chase was awake. And you know that feeling that you wish that your friend was, like, there with you, because trouble's about to come. People are about to fuck with you, and you can't handle it on your own. And this is when the proprietor of the inn comes up, and he's like, what can I do for you guys? Richard is like, is there a healer in town? He's like, no, man.
Now what you see is what you get.
Yeah, this is about what you have. Richard realized he didn't look at Kaylin's tits. So
come right out and say it then.
Yeah. So we can stay here tonight.
This guy's okay.
Yeah.
He didn't check her out. All right.
So we can stay here tonight. Can we have a couple of rooms? And the guy's like, I don't need trouble. Richard says, I'm not trying to give you any. I have a couple of friends hurt outside. I only need one room.
I feel like Richard gave him that answer as threateningly as possible. To try and just put the vibe out here. The guy's like, I don't want any trouble. Richard responds by saying, I don't either. With a threatening glare.
Don't fuck with me.
Right.
Because I'll fuck with you.
At this point, a big man in the middle of the room makes himself known. He's a redhead. That's important.
Of course, naturally.
Goodkind does not like redheads.
And he calls Kaylin an expensive-looking whore and says maybe they can come up and pass her around.
This was weird for me because alpha male stands up in the middle of the room and then announces very, very loudly, hey, that's a good-looking whore you got there. Why don't we all pass her around?
Let's share a little bit.
the alpha male in the room is interested in sharing with fucking anybody. Right? He's big, he's menacing, gets his fucking way. It was just weird that his first thought as a threat was, why don't I share?
Yeah, instead of let me just take her.
Right. And then pass her around like he said. Maybe after he was finished, but the first thing out of his mouth was, yeah. It was weird to me.
And this kind of awakens something in Richard. Like his blood frickin' boils, but his eyes didn't move. Only his hand moved slowly towards the sword. He's ready for a fight. This guy is standing up and he's menacing the whole crew. Shit's about to go down.
Immediately, Richard is like, I'm going to kill this guy and all the fucking guys.
He's like, this dude dies first, and he dies now.
Right.
Yeah.
I love Caitlin, though. She's like, no, you have it all wrong. Today's my day off. I hired him, but if he doesn't do the job, you'll be the first guy I call.
And then she smacks Richard's ass.
Yeah.
Smacks him right in the butt! And this is pretty much the most tense moment in the chapter. Because this dude, the way Goodkind writes it is he's weighing life and death. Even though I feel like this redheaded guy didn't see it like that, if he goes one way, Richard's gonna fucking kill him.
Yeah.
If he goes the other, he might be able to walk away. He doesn't know that this is what his choices are at this moment, but Richard is ready to, cut his fucking throat out.
Yeah.
But instead of doing anything dumb, arguably he already did something dumb, but...
But Caitlin totally diffused the situation.
Right, and
like,
this
totally
guy,
flipped the narrative around.
He just laughs.
Yeah, he just splits a grin and he's like, oh, okay, cool. Nice. Nice,
like
buddy.
her, buddy.
Yeah.
That's how you make lifelong friends.
Right.
No.
The proprietor of this inn thanks Caitlin for keeping his place in one piece. And I'm going to thank all you guys for waiting while we take another break.
We'll be right back. So, when Richard says that they have 2 injured people that they need to be taken upstairs, this guy even offers to sneak them up around back so the rough crowd in the bar area won't see them. Which is a pretty fucking stand-up move for a complete and total stranger. He does all of this for them and then decides to introduce himself. And his name is Bill.
Yep.
And it's a pretty shitty room. The wall was covered in spit. Why? And I don't even want to ask the question, but how could they tell that's what it was? Yeah, fucking gross. They really do need like a black light, but it was dark and it also smelled awful.
I feel like they don't need a black light. That's
Yeah, they can just see everything.
Probably.
But
they don't want a black light.
On the bright side, speaking of lights, this room does have a bolt on the door.
Right.
I gave them the one room with a bolt on the door, so they have that going for them.
And Richard and Caitlin, this is really the first time they've been alone in a while. And he tells her that he's not a fan of what happened downstairs. And she's like, it beats having to get in a fight. I'll basically do anything. Like, anything.
With the eyebrow, right?
Yeah.
This is what I was talking about earlier. She's like, I'll do anything to keep the seeker safe. Anything.
Yeah.
Whatever you need.
What?
Yeah. Whatever the seeker needs, I'm here to service.
I just so happen to have a laundry list of things right here, dear Kaylin.
Yeah. She tells him the men downstairs are just an obstacle. They have to be focused on Dark and Raw. And Richard apologizes and he's like, Kaylin, thank you for having a cool head. And they hug.
I hated this.
Aww.
Because at the beginning of this conversation, Richard was like, I was going to kill some motherfuckers. Everybody in that room was going to die. I was ready to do it, and you made me not do it.
What the hell?
He was itching to kill somebody.
So you hate this because it's like real life?
Yeah, it's like real life. No, Richard is stopped, and I think that's important, because had he killed all those guys, it would have been an avoidable event, and he would have totally been in the wrong for doing that. Kaylin proved what they've been talking about so far in the book. Use your fucking head. Don't be an idiot. Think things through. Let's try and get this done with the least amount of bodies. And he wasn't thinking about that. He was like, that's my woman. Everybody in here dies. I'm going to leave a wake of bodies to make sure that she leaves with me. So try me. You like that, didn't you? That's how it feels.
Holy monologue, Batman.
I feel like we've had these situations in the past, and you've been ready to leave a wake of bodies, and we've talked, and you've left, like, less than a wake.
Fair.
A slight ripple of bodies.
Right, just a ripple, and it is what it is.
Love you.
I love you. And I feel like Kaylin just talks him down from having a complete blow up at this point, which is good.
No, she definitely makes him do the right thing here. So Bill and his son Randy at this point, they open the door and they come in the room with Chase. And Randy makes eyes at Kaylin, and because of what just fucking happened, Richard is like, middle finger rockets at this guy immediately. Fuck you, kid. But it's clear to everybody in the room that this isn't Richard's hill to die on. Kaylin's not his girl. He needs to back the fuck off. So what? They think she's hot. Doesn't change your day at all, buddy.
When I was reading through this the first time, I got hung up on Bill and Randy a little bit. Because up until this point, we've met, Richard, obviously, and his brother Michael, and a couple of other people from Heartland. But when we met Bill and Randy, I noticed that everybody from Heartland has a very basic, simple name. I mean, the guys that showed up to Zed's house, you had Frank, you had John, like, just all these really generic names. But everybody from Midland that we've met so far, you have Kaylin, you have Zed, you have Darkin, like, they're all cooler names, a little more complicated. And I just found that very interesting that Terry segregated, so to speak, the style of names, I guess. It was weird and kind of annoying. Like, oh yeah, we're just going to meet some other random dude named, like, Bob. We don't have a Bob yet.
He's coming. No. It's a really interesting point. When you brought this up to me, I kind of re-listened to a bit of the book just to find out if you were, on par.
Yeah, like, was I for real?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Everybody
it's
from Westland has
he was just super
name.
lazy. He was like, yeah, these people, they don't matter to the story. We don't need to remember their names. Just forget it. Doesn't matter.
Bob.
It just doesn't matter. Exactly.
Yeah, no, Nate shared this with me when you told him, and I was like, oh, yeah.
That
true.
makes sense.
Yeah,
And
it does.
This is going just a little bit ahead, and I won't spoil anything else, but a lot of the people from Dahara, German-sounding names.
Yes.
That all ties in. He thought all of this shit out. So this guy and his son, Randy, drop Chase off on the bed, and he says to Richard, you didn't tell me that your friend was Del Branstone. And that puts Richard on edge because he doesn't know whether or not that's a good thing. And the guy says, look, it's not a problem for me, but it is for some of the guys downstairs, and they would rip him to shreds if they knew he were in here right now. So after that info dump, they head back downstairs, and Richard tells Kaylin to pay the kid to watch their horses overnight and make sure they're ready first fucking thing in the morning, because Richard wants to get the hell out of here. All of the guys in here want the girl that he wants, so this is just not acceptable to him. And she's like, why do you think that Randy would do that? And of course, Richard goes, oh, he will. If you ask, just, smile at him.
He'll do anything.
Right. But don't you think that's a little naive of Kaylin? Like, duh. Tits, dude.
She knows she's a bit hot. Come on.
Right.
Come on.
Right. Some teenage kid is obviously going to gawk at her. It's not going to be anything new.
Right.
It's like, yeah, of course he's going to do what you want him to do. Just be a little nice and you'll have your way.
Right.
Once they get everything set, Bill asks Randy to go back downstairs and grab a bowl and a towel just in case the lady wants to clean.